from No Joke NHL here on Tuesday with our daily recap video from the games Monday night. We went with all four underdogs in last night's game, and we were disappointed as all four of those underdogs lost. We had them in regulation. One of them lost in overtime, the Anaheim Ducks in Detroit. The rest of them lost in regulation, and a couple of them, including in Detroit, we had the underdog with a lead in the third period, only to see them cough that up and then lose the game subsequently. So let's go through the card real quick and talk about some things of note that I picked up. First game, Boston 5, Toronto 2. The first game in over a decade in Toronto leaves the home fans disappointed. Wes Reynolds jumped on Boston in the first period with a great angle that I often like to work myself. I didn't really look at it as applying to the whole game, but certainly sounded good in the first period, where basically sometimes the home crowd pressure, a lot of people think you perform in front of the home crowd because you're pumped up and they're fired up to see everything. But sometimes it's just the crowd, you feel like you have to perform for the crowd, and you're really on edge, and oftentimes you're a little outside of your comfort zone, and a veteran team like Boston can certainly make you pay, and that's what they did here, scoring a goal in the first period to silence the crowd and then set it up for them to go into a dominating performance. The bad period for the Leafs here, second period, in which Reimer gives up 3 goals on 15 shots. Not necessarily the worst period I've ever seen in my life, but that coupled with the first goal, he did face a total of 47 shots. He faced a total of 38 shots. Toronto was able to put 47 shots on Rask, and he was definitely up to it, shutting them out in the first period on 13 shots, and then giving up 1 in each the second and the third, 1 on 16 shots in the second, and 18 shots in the third. So Rask certainly up to the task last night to do that. Looking at some of the other stats, basically, like I said, Toronto generating a lot of offensive chances, but Boston was able to keep them out of the net. And like I said, usually when you get a quick lead like that, or a lead where, like I said, they were up 4-1 going into the final period, and Toronto was able to get an early goal in the third period, make it a little interesting for a little bit. But that stuff is hard to overcome in the playoffs, especially with a defensively savvy team there. So this series is now 2-1 Boston, and they reclaim home ice, and they will play Game 4 tomorrow night in Toronto, and so we'll keep our eyes peeled for that. And maybe they've shaken the nerves that they had in front of the home crowd and put together another decent effort. But it really wasn't that bad of an effort, not as bad as what the score indicated. The next game going on up in Madison Square Garden had the New York Rangers beating the Capitals 4-3, and I tweeted out early in the first period, about midway through the first period, Caps were completely controlling possession and doing everything else, and when I jinx myself and have the Rangers come down and score their first goal. Brian Boyle gets it, but the Capitals basically, doing what they wanted pretty much in this in this game. The key for them was their lack of discipline. They took a lot of bad penalties. They got a couple bad calls. The one call where Nash, they said it was hooking on Nash or something. On Ovechkin, horrible call. I mean, Nash just lost an edge and went down, and they gave the call. But some of those were, really just bad penalties taken by the Capitals, and of course the Rangers were able to convert on one of those power play chances, and it turned out to be the difference, as the game was won by only 1 goal. So Braden Holtby again. Solid performance except for the third. Gives up 2 goals on 8 shots in the third. So not the best for him. Although 1 goal out of 14, 1 goal out of 8 in the second, and then going through that. And whereas Lundqvist even throughout, basically gives up 3 goals on 31 shots, 1 in 10 in the first, 1 goal on 11 in the second, and 1 goal out of 10 shots in the third. So very consistent for Lundqvist, and as it was, and it was for Holtby as well. Like I said, they just had to play catch up most of the night after they were up 1-0, and then Rangers come back to score, make it 2-1. Caps tie that up. Rangers go ahead there, and then of course Capitals tied again, and then only give up the game winner at 13:35 of the game. and then ended on a power play, putting tremendous amounts of pressure on there. So I really don't see, again, we talked about yesterday in the preview video, that if the Rangers were able to win a tight game, close one-goal game, Lundqvist saves it or whatever, wouldn't really shock us. I mean, we did see some scoring in this game, and if you actually tie the 2 p.m. games from Sunday, we basically had a run of all overs with just one push last night in Anaheim and Detroit, which finished on 5. So, everybody with these solid unders that can't lose, minus 140, minus 130, buyer beware on those. Like I said, all it takes is one or two games. Like I said, refs to start calling a couple power plays. Some of these posts turn into goals, and next thing you know, like I said, we're screaming over. So the real value here is not playing these unders at those high juice prices, or going at under 4.5 on those, where they deflate the return on those. The real value is actually taking, in a game like last night in the Capitals game, over 5.5 was at plus 190, over 5.5 in the Blues Kings game, plus 270. So I mean, literally, you're getting over 5-2 on over 5.5. Now, granted, what we saw from this series up until last night wouldn't, your handicapping's not going to take you there. But if you're talking about value and putting yourself in a spot where value's there, that's where the value is. It's not in laying minus 150 under 5 because you've seen the last 10 games come through. That's just the books, basically setting you up to, for that one night like last night where it comes back and all bites you. And like I said, if you happen to be sitting on either plus 190 or plus 270 on over 5.5 in an NHL game, that's where the real value is. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen every night. I'm not telling you just play under or overs blindly at that price. But if you like I said, if we're talking about value, that's what we're talking about there. So again, really tight series. Definitely looking forward to Game 4. Like I said, nothing really that the Capitals did last night shows me that they're the inferior team here. It's just a matter, can they control the Rangers a little bit? Like I said, Rangers had some more power play opportunities. 6 penalties to 3, 12 minutes for 6 minutes, 12 minutes by the Capitals and penalty minutes, 6 for the Rangers. So a little more power play opportunity, although the Capitals were able to hold them to only 1 power play goal. So 1 out of 6 is not bad at all. So moving on into Detroit, we had the Anaheim Ducks losing 3-2 in overtime to the Detroit Red Wings, and this was a game that really the Red Wings dominated as far as offensive statistics were going, and Jonas Hiller was keeping them in the game the whole time. I mean, they were extremely outshot. Outshot 13-8 in the first and 14-7 through 2, and the Ducks owned a 2-1 lead at that point. Owned a 1-goal lead, 1-0 going into the third period, only to see Detroit score twice and them score only once to, they had to lead 2-1 again, and Detroit is able to score at 13:27 of the third to end up forcing the game to overtime, and then they both shot even shots 9-8. I think 9 for the Ducks and 8 for the Red Wings, and of course the Red Wings get the game winner in overtime. So this series is now 2-2, and it's an interesting dynamic. Like I said, basically the Red Wings kind of skated circles around them offensively. Hiller kept them in, and like I said, this was basically the Ducks' game to win. So again, we have a tight game where Detroit wins it. Really tough spot for for the Ducks here coming back to Game 5. I'm sure they're going to be glad to get back to Anaheim to take this team on, but they certainly have to come out with a vengeance and basically put the Red Wings away and put away any hopes of them stealing this series at this point. Like I said, it seemed the Ducks were the dominant team. The final game last night, the LA Kings tying their series with a 4-3 victory against the Blues. The Blues came out and jumped on them in a hurry, scoring 2 goals in the first 4:32 of the first period, only to give up 2 goals to the Kings and have it tied 2-2. So everybody diving all over the under there, certainly disappointed after 1 period. And then it was St. Louis scoring 1 more time and LA scoring 2 more times in the 3rd period. The Blues took a 3-2 lead going into the 3rd period and were not able to hold on to it as the Kings scored 2 times in a minute 15 in the 3rd period. At 7:14, Kopitar gets one, and at 8:30, Williams gets one, and those were your game winners right there. Blues unable to convert in the final 12 minutes to force overtime here or otherwise. So now this series tied at 2. Again, the Blues look to be cruising. They pretty much played better than the Kings, I felt, in Game 3. Didn't get the result on the scoreboard, 1-0 loss. And last night they certainly played well enough to win, and the Kings just basically came back and stole it from them in a high-scoring affair. Again, like I said, 4-3. 4-3 was almost unheard of in this series, where they had 2-1 games, all over. So, like I said, some very tight, entertaining games last night. They did not go the way we wanted. So last night, the only bright spot, I had Caps team total over 2.5 at +125. That, of course, came in their 4-3 loss. But we had every underdog minus a half goal in regulation. All of those did not come in, so we went 1-4 on the night, minus 2.75 units, and that brings us now to 11-17 for the playoffs, plus 1.5 units. So I'll be back at 3 o'clock Eastern with the preview for tonight's card. We have Penguins, Islanders getting back at it, and the other matchups was off the top of my head. I'm not going to sit here and try to do it from memory. So I'll see you guys at 3 o'clock, and as always, let's drop the puck and let's make some money.